For the next shot, you'll remember in the schedule, not much time to move over and get this thing done, but that works to our advantage because we planned ahead and we thought, well, there's actually not much lighting. There's not much we're gonna change here. It's just a matter of repositioning and then getting the shot. So if we come into our world, this is where we were for our wide shot. This is where we ended up on our big wide master that we can jump back to at any time. All of the action plays out in that spot. This is where we had originally, this is where I had taken the still that went into the storyboard, right? This was like the Tech Scout area of the still, which I still like. And this is probably where, you know, having a very thorough pre-production process and a Tech Scout, we like this. We know that this exists, so we don't have to lead with it. As soon as we get done, or even before we get done with this first wide shot, right? Pretty much as soon as the frame is set, even though you don't have an operator, there's not really much operation here. You don't really have to think about too much as a cinematographer. You're looking to make sure no lighting has changed, nothing has really shifted. As soon as that is done, I'm thinking, okay, well, where is an interesting spot now? Knowing where we actually landed for this wide, where's an interesting spot? Maybe this is, I don't know if this is different enough. Even though we're cutting back to it at the very end of the ad, I'm not sure this is different enough. You know, it's a slightly different line. I like that the shadows are coming towards the camera and it's a different background and it's a much longer lens on the 85mm. But I don't know if it's as crazy. And because we're having a logo come up over this, right? In this action, the woman gets in the car and she makes like she's going to drive off. We've already talked with Andre, the director, and he says that he's not gonna have enough time to see the car drive off. So there's really no point in doing it because it just adds to the reset time. So she's just gonna get in her car and give the wave off, and that's gonna be the end of the ad, right? Maybe she pulls out a little bit, but she's not gonna get on the road and drive off. So knowing that, well, I would be thinking the entire time, I know that this is there. I know that that 85mm shot is there. I know that everybody likes it. I would be thinking, well, let's think of something out of the box. Let's throw something up. Let's see what we can do. And here, now this is 135mm. This is significantly different than anything we've seen so far. If we just come up a little bit, again, I'm looking for those lines of the road to start interacting. I'm looking at the space between these two poles. Do we have to come around over here more? Right, is this better? You imagine on a lens this long in the desert on a hot sunny day like this, you're gonna have the little heat particle, the heat waves coming up off of the ground. This might be better, right? Depending on the size of the logo, this or how we're gonna fade to the logo or where it's gonna be placed, a longer, crazier shot like this might be better. So I would say, okay, what do we think of this, right? The sun hasn't moved too much. Let's say if this was our wide previously where it was before, if we change the sun angle, let's go to 35. It's now slightly higher in the sky because we are an hour later, right? You still have, and this is a pretty good looking shot here. I would say maybe we come up just a little bit. We don't want to bury too much of their body. We don't want too much sky. But now if here, see how we're losing the top of these poles? If we want to keep those, just come down just a little bit. Over, right? We still have the road cutting through, but it's so much different than the wide. Let's take a still of that. And then we'll come in here and we'll also go over here and take a still of the other camera. Where's the other camera here? This is our original position, which we had planned on. Now you can feel the difference. If we come into our storyboards now, get out of that, go to the storyboards page. So this is our original wide, and that feels a little bit, because we swapped over the 65 for our initial master shot, feels like this is too similar. Like this feels like a much different, much bigger, okay, she's driving away, she's got room to drive away. Depending on how late and how many frames is going to be in the actual ad, this might be the play. So I would offer this up. And because we are not, you know, we're not doing any major lighting in here at all, right? There's no neg, there's no bounce, there's no nothing. It's just time. I would say, well, we can get, depending on how much action there is, we can get both. I would lead with this one. I would say this one is so different than the others that this is where I would start, right? And then, oh, it comes back from the client or the agency. Maybe they don't like that one. So, well, let's just pop back in here, right? And again, you just have a little tiny play when you're in here, looking for angles, looking for interest. Like here, it's nice that the pole is more evenly spaced than if you come around too far this way, you start to lose the pole way over. And I like the symmetry between the two poles when they're sort of equidistant from the edges of the frame, like that, right? That feels pretty good. And I like how the shadow comes towards us, making that little triangle there. We want to come a little bit lower. Just depends on what you have there, what is interesting and what is not interesting. Again, looking a little bit down is not bad. It's not like we have anything in the foreground that we can shoot over or anything, but this is a pretty good spot, right? If we come around anymore, we start losing. This is again where you're gonna have to start place Dad in the background. You know, we start losing him. So let's say, for example, we like this angle, but probably that composition is not gonna work with Dad being there. I like that I can see her whole face, right? Even though it's profiling, I can see her whole face, but if we run over there real quick, and let's change his orientation. We'll just suck him out towards the curb just a little bit. If we come down, let's move him this way, a little bit back, and then we'll just rotate him around a little bit, like that. Now if we come back to our camera, we will see, does this make a difference? Where is our camera? There it is. All right, so now you can see him, but he's sort of now, she's sort of in line with that car. So maybe we move the car as well. Let's see if we move the car. Does anything bad happen to us? Come here, just shuffle over the car just a little bit. Come back. So I just moved the car over a little bit so it didn't line up with her head, right? These are the little things, still, like that, right? You want that break because you don't want her head lining up with something else because it just distracts. See how much harder it is to see? First, we lost our nice pole there. It's much harder to pick her out from the background there than it is if we just come here, right? That little tiny line. And maybe that's not long enough. Let's go one up. What's that, the 100? Something like that, right? That feels nice because you got her head, you got his head separate from the two cars. You can see both cars are there. We've got both poles. We've got the shadows coming towards us. We've got the line of the road. We've got the little elements in the background, the trees, the plants, whatever those things are, just peppering up the image. And this is probably where I would land, even though we started with the storyboard still, a little bit more angled and a little bit more around to the right. On the day, this is those little changes that you're making that make all of the difference. So again, sun is in the right spot. We haven't left it too late, right? Just imagine now, let's say this shot took, I don't know, say the early stuff in the morning, there was drone issues. We didn't get around to shooting the other stuff until later. Let's put the sun, you know, just an hour later. And now if we come back to our camera here, let's see what this looks like. You can see that the shadows are they're a little bit toppier, but man, it just completely changes the look. The shadows are coming the same direction, but the intensity of the background, the intensity of the ground versus them completely changes this look. So we're safe for a little bit. We're safe basically until the sun comes directly overhead. This angle will match all of the other stuff that we have done, but we really got to think ahead. You know, people on set might not be panicked or might not be rushed because they think, oh, we have all day to get this stuff. But really, you have until noon to get all of the stuff facing this way. Because if you are late and you end up having to shoot this way at 1 or 2 o'clock, depending on how much it blows out, you're in real trouble. So this is good that we have seen, okay, it works even an hour later, but let's just keep pushing and let's keep coming up with things that are gonna speed us up, because as soon as we get into the middle of the day, we're gonna slow it right down. We're gonna lengthen it out. We're gonna lengthen out the time it takes to get those insert shots so that when we flip around, it's gonna be looking very nice. So that is our logo reveal. We've had our conversation about leaving enough room for the logo. We've had our conversation about movement, about the lighting, and everybody is prepared now because this is really from here, this is crunch time. Because now we're bringing in all of the lighting equipment that we saw earlier, all of the grip equipment, and we're gonna set up a little world to make his single and his mid shot, over the shoulder shot, match the stuff that we have done today. So we take a still, we roll up, and the entire time we're rolling up, I'm thinking to myself, okay, is the 12x ready? Is the bounce ready? Is the neg ready? Is it going to be easy? Are there any clouds in the sky? Let's get in there and let's get it done. So that is where we're going to in the next video.